All right, everyone, if we could get seated, please. We have a full program today. So I'd like to welcome everyone. I'm Sean Gilsdorf. I'm the chair of the Medieval Academy of America's Committee on Centers and Regional Associations, better known as CARA, and I'm delighted to welcome you all to this year's CARA Plenary session. In addition to its original focus on coordinating and advocating for local and regional networks of medievalists, as well as medieval studies, research centers, and institutions, CARA strives to help institutions and individual medievalists meet the challenges they face in the classroom, the library, and other settings. For the past 2 decades, it has recognized the critical but too often underappreciated work of its members with the Robert L. Kendrick CARA Award for Outstanding Service to Medieval Studies, and celebrated outstanding pedagogical achievements with a yearly award for excellence in teaching medieval studies. After the presentation of these awards, we will hear from this year's CARA Plenary speaker, Professor Zrinka Stahuliak. I also would encourage you to register, if you haven't already done so, for the 2024 CARA annual meeting entitled What's in a Name? Advantages and Challenges of the Medieval Today, which will offer an opportunity to continue today's conversations. The CARA meeting will take place in the Morris Inn on Sunday morning. More information can be found on your MAA meeting program and on the meeting website. So we'll move on now to the presentation of awards. The CARA committee has recognized 2 colleagues with this year's Robert Kendrick CARA Award for Outstanding Service to Medieval Studies. Professor Geraldine Heng of the University of Texas cannot be with us today. She is being cited for her work as an organizer, an editor, and a tireless source of professional guidance and advice. Her central role with the University of Texas Humanities Institute, Medievalists of Color, and the Race Before Race Network has benefited hundreds of colleagues, young and old alike, helping to create and sustain vibrant scholarly communities in an inclusive and encouraging way. In turn, her stewardship of 2 book series, Cambridge University Press's Critical Elements in the Global Middle Ages, and the University of Pennsylvania Press's Race Before Race, Critical Studies of the Pre-Modern, as well as the MLA's Options for Teaching volume on the Global Middle Ages, has transformed the scholarly literature in our field and brought new voices and perspectives to it. Finally, she has shared her insights and her guidance with scholars around North America and the world, and particularly those just entering the field. As one of these colleagues notes, Jerry's mentorship of a huge number of junior scholars who work in these areas and her constant commitment to review their articles, books, and tenure and promotion files have been a priceless resource, one that has helped not only to sustain medieval studies, but expand it in new and important directions. Our thanks to Professor Heng for her contributions to our field and its continued success. The second recipient of this year's Kendrick CARA Award is a scholar who also has positively affected thousands of medievalists at her own institution and around the world. Since receiving her PhD from Notre Dame, Dr. Marjorie Harrington has played a critical role in 2 central institutions of our field, Medieval Institute Publications and the International Congress of Medieval Studies, both housed at Western Michigan University. Despite being thrown in at the deep end, Dr. Harrington quickly helped MIP to overhaul what one local observer described as an antiquated, labyrinthine financial apparatus, and to digitize the press's production process, allowing it to survive in a perilous economic environment and remain one of the main publishing venues for our field. An even greater challenge faced Dr. Harrington, however, when she assumed the role of program manager for the International Congress on Medieval Studies in 2021, a year we will all remember with shuddering. With the COVID-19 pandemic in full force, Dr. Harrington found herself responsible for moving a massive academic conference fully online, a task requiring a rare combination of technical sophistication, administrative acumen, intellectual flexibility, and social grace. As a colleague observes, quote, "The ICMS could have been dealt a death blow by COVID. One of the reasons this didn't happen is that Marjorie worked so hard and so intelligently to save it for future generations. Since then, she has applied the same virtues to the equally daunting project of steering the massive ICMS ship into the fabled harbor of hybridity, doing so with patience, intelligence, and good humor throughout. Yet while many of us here have benefited from Dr. Harrington's Herculean labors on behalf of the conference, often in first-person form, she has played an equally important, if less known, role in the continued vitality of the Medieval Studies program at Western Michigan University itself. Despite her many administrative responsibilities, she has supported the Institute's teaching mission, offering instruction in paleography, pedagogy training for MA students, and informal Latin reading groups. She also has worked tirelessly to build and sustain the medievalist community on and off campus, coordinating the Institute's medieval research group and reviving the Early Music Michigan program. In short, Dr. Harrington embodies the values celebrated by the Kindred CARA Prize, doing, quote, work that often goes unrecognized by the profession at large, with professionalism, passion, and poise. It's a pleasure to recognize that work today. The Committee on Centers and Regional Associations is pleased to recognize Angela Mariani with this year's CARA Award for Excellence in Teaching Medieval Studies. In the words of a senior colleague, quote, Angela Mariani is a legend, a whirlwind, a creative force in medieval studies, and especially in medieval music. After receiving her doctoral degree from the University of Indiana's Early Music Institute, Professor Mariani joined the faculty of Texas Tech University, where she is now professor of musicology. Her arrival transformed the university's music program. Within months, she had founded an early music ensemble, Collegium Musicum, which in the ensuing 2 decades has offered hundreds of performances of medieval, Renaissance, and early Baroque repertoire, and collaborated with Texas Tech's theater program. Her effect was equally profound in the classroom, where she introduced a wide range of introductory and advanced courses, dealing inter alia with the history of medieval music, the music of Hildegard von Bingen, early performance practice, critical listening for music majors, and, in a nod to her own shredding roots, the history of rock and roll. The success of this curriculum has led to the creation first of a graduate certificate program in historical performance practice, and more recently of an undergraduate certificate program, both shaped and fostered by Professor Mariani, offering Texas Tech students a unique opportunity to place early music theory, history, and practice at the heart of their educational experience. Yet it is on the airwaves where Angela Mariani's impact as a music educator may be the most profound and long-lasting. For over 30 years, she has enlightened thousands, if not millions, of public radio listeners as the host of Harmonia, a weekly program that brings to life the sounds and stories of early music and its practitioners in accessible yet sophisticated ways available to anyone with a radio. In all her courses, as in her radio program, Professor Mariani deftly weaves together lecture, discussion, and performance in a coherent, compelling whole. Her openness and enthusiasm are infectious, and her students deeply appreciate her insistence that they demonstrate what they have learned in a variety of forms, modes, and contexts. Exams and essays, to be sure, but also listening journals and collaborative performances. Her work in the classroom has not gone unnoticed. Since 2007, she has been a member of the peer-elected TTU Teaching Academy, and in 2018, she was honored with the President's Excellence in Teaching Award. It is her students, however, who have offered the clearest and most enthusiastic appraisals of her skills as a teacher, advisor, and mentor. If one were to create a word cloud from her student evaluations, the 6 terms would dominate the composition: best, brilliant, marvelous, passionate, phenomenal, and, largest of all, wonderful. As one graduate student remarked, I could not think of a more able educator and voice for the music and its merits than Dr. Mariani. It is evident that this music is her life's work, and I can safely say that her veneration and respect for this music has inspired the same in me. Another admits that, quote, I came in not really understanding or enjoying medieval music. Now I'm sad it has to end. I don't think they meant medieval music. While I could share dozens of similar testimonials, I will close with one that all of us will appreciate. Quote, you live, eat, and breathe this material. So how could this course not be an enriching, engrossing experience? You've made a medievalist out of me. It is this ability to inform, to excite, and above all to transform that defines a great teacher. Many thanks for sharing your gifts with your students, your university, and medievalists everywhere. Before beginning the next part of our program, I'd like to acknowledge our conference program director, Professor Keisha Tracy. Fortune, Belle et Cruel decreed that Keisha could not be here in person with us today, but it's thanks to her energy and insight that this plenary session, as well as Sunday's CARA meeting, are taking place. If you're watching on the live stream, Keisha, thanks from all of us.